It's already time to bring on my guest of honor tonight. I'd like to introduce everybody to Mr. Daisuke. Hello, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thanks for waiting. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for being late. I apologize for that.
Don't worry about it at all. It happens to the best of us, but you're here. Hello, welcome.
Oh, it's a real honor. Wow, thank you so much. This is very cool. Very, very cool. And thanks very much for the kind invitation. I'm very nervous and looking forward to this immensely.
I have no idea why you're nervous. I'm nervous just to speak to you. It's an honor for me. I mean, a lot of us, especially a lot of people in the chat, have been listening and watching you for years. So it's an immense honor to have your presence in our presence.
Oh, wow. Wow, I'm thrilled. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.
You've got lots of people saying hello. Lots of people excited to see you. We've got, look at this, two of my favorite YouTubers here together. That's amazing. And I'm glad that we got you on this week because we got Criterion announcements to discuss tonight. That's a big deal.
Oh, yes. They occurred, what is it, a couple days ago? So, yeah, great. Great stuff.
We got a lot to cover tonight. So, first of all, welcome. You've been in the States for a few months now, right?
That's right. Yes, I'm now on the West Coast. So,
yeah. How's everything been since you made the trip here?
It's been busy, I must say. It's been not without a certain degree of, say, having a lot of things to do, but it's all good. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I speak for myself and my family, saying thank you very much for welcoming us here, and we'll be here for, I don't know for how long, maybe a few years. And then we'll be going back to Japan, but we'll try to enjoy ourselves as much as we can, including watching a lot of movies. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Lots of opportunities for that near where you're living now, huh?
That's right. Yes. Although I must say I haven't had the opportunity to go out as much as I would have liked to. I've been out a little bit, but not as much. So I wanted to, if I can get some more time between now and the end of the year, I'd like to do that.
I believe it was last June, I made a venture out to where you are now and was able to go to the New Beverly for the first time in my life. And you went there recently, right?
That's right. Yes, I saw two films directed by Sergio Leone there. It was a real blast. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
We had very different experiences. I went there for a John Waters double feature.
Oh, which films were they?
It was, of course, Polyester, and then they followed that up with Serial Mom. It was a really fun double feature.
Oh, very cool. Are you a John Waters fan?
I was a John Waters one that dipped my toe in the water before last year, but genuinely seeing them on the big screen with a crowd that loved his work, it is such a surreal experience that can change your mind on cinema when you're in that type of an environment. And man, since then, I cannot get enough, for sure.
Oh, awesome. What are some of your favorite John Waters films?
Honestly, that night Serial Mom got pretty cemented as great in my mind, but I have watched Pink Flamingos and Polyester multiple times since that double feature, and I think they're both pretty much a masterpiece.
Oh, that's so awesome. That is really awesome.
What about you? Obviously, you've seen a few John Waters, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I'm a really big fan. Although I must say I haven't had the opportunity to see films like Polyester on the big screen. So that must have been really awesome. But I'm a huge fan of John Waters films. Yeah, very much so.
I'm really hoping either Criterion, because they've done many of his, or somebody else releases some of his modern films, because so many of his, they're just stuck. Like you can't find them anywhere right now.
Oh, that's right. Like A Dirty Shame.
Yeah.
Or, right, they've got the 2 DVDs, but I don't think they've gotten a Blu-ray in North America yet, so. Right?
No.
Yeah. Or Cecil B. Demented, right? They have been DVD releases, but nothing beyond that since wherever it was several years back, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think even a couple of the DVDs might even be out of print nowadays.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, yeah. That's a shame. Well, hopefully that might, bode well maybe for some label, Criterion or elsewhere, to release these films. You're absolutely right.
That'd be nice. Benny Ford, here's a question. Have you picked up The Trial from 1962? And any thoughts on Kafka?
Oh, Benny Ford, hello. It's nice to see you. Great. And yes, I have picked it up, the Criterion release. So And any thoughts on Kafka? Gosh, yeah, it's I guess Kafka are in the context of the Orson Welles film, The Trial, I suppose.
That's what I would assume.
I'm just trying to formulate what it is I'm going to hope to say in a video discussion, hopefully very soon. But I find it to be, it's one of my favorite works by Orson Welles. And I admire it very much for a lot of reasons. I think because there's a certain degree of defiance inherent in the film. I think not in many parts. For example, the great performance by Anthony Perkins. There's a sense of a type of a defiance that is not. It's not always hopeful, but it always has a sense of a sort of resilience, which I find very much in keeping with Orson Welles' work overall. So it's a really a wonderful achievement in many ways.
I would agree there. Normally at the beginning here, I tend to cover some pickups and recent watches. Is there anything that you've picked up recently that you would love to share with everybody, or maybe something you watched recently that was amazing?
Oh gosh, yes. I recently picked up. Let's see. It was the. I don't have it right here with me, but let's see. It's the. I got the Best Buy exclusive release of the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy on 4K.
Yeah.
So it's Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. So I got that. I think it was released earlier this week.
Yeah, I think so.
So I got that, or maybe last week, I forget. But it was that was the one where you have all the films, but they're in the steel books.
Yeah,
and they come in this huge tin as well. So. In fact, actually, you know what? Let me. I'm talking about it. I know it's here somewhere.
Sure. Yeah. Go right ahead. Yeah. Let's see. Carrie Mulligan wants to share about Mudbound getting that announcement. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Let's see. Brendan got the Michael J. Murphy set. Yeah, that thing's amazing.
There we go. That's it. I don't know if the clear is bad. So that's what I got there, which is the
nice.
It's like a it's this tin case or metal case, and inside you've got the steel books in this kind of hard styrofoam. So, and they have their own kind of artwork as well in this steelbook fashion. So I usually don't get a lot of steelbooks, and I don't usually go for the Walmart or Best Buy exclusives
right.
because I wasn't living here in the United States, but now I thought, oh, this came up. And while I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan of the films per se, I think they gave me a great opportunity to revisit them. And so, I'm very happy for these. Upon revisiting them, I found a lot to engage with much more. So it was a good opportunity for that. And also to visit Best Buy. You know, I know Best Buy has been in the news with physical media lately.
Yeah.
But the one nearby still is making some offerings in the physical media market, at least for the time being. So it was good to pay a visit over there as well. So
I found, especially with those three films, that on rewatch, they were all much better to me on second viewing. 2018, the first one, it was pretty dang good the first time, but man, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, it had... I think it was because they announced the trilogy before they released any of them, so you knew that there wasn't really anything at stake because there's going to be two more movies. So going into the second and the third one, you're just it's like the middle part of a story basically. I feel like once you ingested them once, revisiting them again, it made me appreciate them much more.
That's a really good point. That's really good. And I think I would agree. I think I had a very strong reaction in that vein, in particular with the film Halloween Ends, the third of this so-called trilogy.
Yeah, I think it's much better than its reputation is made out to be.
Yeah. Well, there's still time. There's still time between, when it was first released and, years from now. So we'll see what happens with future generations of moviegoers who watch this. But yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Totally.
Well, we didn't get too much into your channel before we got started. For the three people that may have never heard of Daisuke, you want to share what you go over on your channel?
Oh, the YouTube channel? Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, so my name is Daisuke Beppu, and so I I talk about. I just talk about movies, I suppose. I guess I tend to. It tends to be around the Criterion Collection area, but yeah, I've been a big fan, just watching movies since I was a little kid. So it's always nice to be able to try to catch up, as at my own slow snail paced way about things. But yeah, so Daisuke Beppu on YouTube.
And linked in the description below. If you've never watched Daisuke, it is an inspirational journey through film. Somebody that has a way with words that I have adored for quite some time. And as I said earlier, it's just an immense honor to have you on the channel. I really appreciate you doing this.
No. Very kind of you to invite me. Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you.
That leads us to our film discussion, which I was so excited to hear that you wanted to talk about. And tonight, we're going to talk about the team-up of John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. So the big thing, why those two? Why was that the one that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I've always been a fan of John Carpenter and a big fan of Kurt Russell. And there's something quite magical about that type of team-up. And it's each of those films, the John Carpenter, Kurt Russell team ups in their own way, it's something special. So I thought, what better opportunity than talking with you? Yes, on your great channel.
I have enjoyed Kurt Russell in every single thing that he has ever done with John Carpenter, and there's something special about that the chemistry in this team up. What is it about Kurt Russell on screen that makes these special for you?
Oh, I think his on-screen charisma is without doubt so likable, and I think everything he does, you always are rooting for him, and he has an appeal that is, I think, it's very rugged and also very sensitive, and I mean, I like how there's a real strong earnestness about all of his performances. And they're quite wide ranging, from something like The Thing to Escape from New York or Escape from LA to Elvis, right? And then Big Trouble. So it's, I find that combination to work really, really well. And also too, the commentary tracks whenever you get them.
Yes.
Between John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. I mean, those are some of the classic commentary tracks as well. So that just adds to the aura and the likability factor for him and for both of them, for that matter.
There is something about those commentaries that you can tell that even outside of their working relationship, there is just some immense friendship between these two guys that you just are dying to be a part of. They have this beautiful chemistry that you could just tell they are probably having the most fun when they are making any of these films together.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah, you can just feel it when you listen to them. Yeah, I agree. It makes it even more appealing when you watch these. It makes you want to watch them again and again and again. Yeah. So
there's only 5 of them. So let's go through and talk about the 5 team ups here. And I think probably the best one to talk about is the most out of left field one, and that's the Elvis film.
Sure.
Kurt Russell is starring in this as Elvis, and it's 1979, made for TV. Like I said, Kurt Russell plays Elvis, and it's honestly, it fits Kurt Russell way better than you think it would, especially in 1979. How do you feel about this one overall?
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah. And what was that release? It was the Shout Select release?
Yes.
I think. Yeah. So I think that was also a very strong release, maybe a few years back, I think. But yeah, you're right. It's something that I think from my growing up with John Carpenter, that was the film that was one that I wasn't able to find.
Right.
And so that was the one that was a more relatively speaking recent discovery. But you're right. There's you think, oh, what is this? This isn't a horror film. This isn't a sci-fi film. So how am I going to react to this? But you're right. There is this innate charm that Kurt Russell brings, and you realize that's such a perfect fit. Yeah. And just the moves. It's not like a kind of 100%. He is mimicking everything Elvis in terms, you look at Kurt Russell's picture, look at Elvis Presley's picture side to side. There might not necessarily be a lot of similarity there on the surface, but granted those discernible traits, there is a way in which he inhabits the spirit and makes it his own. It's really phenomenal. Yes, Kurt Russell just is the reason to watch that. It's an amazing performance.
The big thing I wanted to highlight for anybody that has never given this a watch, obviously you should, but it's a made-for-TV movie, and it feels so much more earnest than you would expect for a made-for-TV film, especially in 1979. And I miss those days. I miss, ABC magic of the movies, Sunday night, let's show a made-for-TV film type of thing that they did back then. And obviously now everything just goes to streaming. But there was something about this. You hear that we're going to be showing this made-for-TV movie on Tuesday night, and it's directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell, about Elvis. You're not going to have a lot of faith in that, probably. But for some reason, they tried so much more than you would expect them to, and they pulled it off. It is so well done. And like you said, he's no Austin Butler from last year or anything, but he is Kurt Russell playing a damn good Elvis.
Yeah, and Ryan, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I forgot about that. I forgot how, there is something about the TV movie that we don't have anymore, right? And there's something about that type of entertainment that, I totally forgot about. But you're absolutely right. When I was growing up around this time, the 70s, for me it would have been 80s primarily. The TV movie concept. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a type of magic quality that it's we have different ways of consuming that type of media now. But back in the day, you're right, and Elvis is a great example of this.
Yeah, and a lot of the greats that we all appreciate as directors, a lot of them had directed made-for-TV movies, and we don't have enough of them on disc. Places like Kino Lorber have been doing their best to save some. Unfortunately, many of them are just straight lost to time, and we will probably never get to see them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, we got 4 left. What is the next team up that you think we should talk about?
In what order? Is it...
Whatever you feel is best. What flows best, or we could rank them, because Elvis would probably be my number 5. So whichever way you want to look at that.
Then let's go. I guess we can go with. Well, we have to talk. Let's talk about the Escape films.
It's a good double feature next. Yeah.
Yes. So Escape from New York and then Escape from LA, but I guess Escape from New York first because it came first in the chronology.
Yeah, Escape from New York obviously sets up this franchise that is a lot of fun. And when it came out, it was done in a way that was, set in the very near future of, I think it was 97 was the year it was set, or 96, something like that. And Snake Plissken is the individual that we get out of this, who is the roving badass through New York, trying to rescue the president and get him out of New York and survive through the night. And of course, New York is now this massive prison, essentially, that is overrun in ways that you could never possibly imagine until you see it. And I think there's a lot of charm in this movie, and I gotta say, I did not have a lot of love for either of these two movies, and like I said earlier about John Waters, until I saw them on the big screen. There was something magical about seeing them on the big screen that made me love them so much more. Obviously, Escape from New York is a classic, and so many people love it, but it for some reason, it just never clicked with me until that moment. Once I saw it on the big screen, man, this thing, amazing. So many great people in this, so many wonderful performances. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think just as I was joining, the chat was going into talking about Ernest Borgnine, Winnie the Pooh or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, speaking of Ernest Borgnine, yes, exactly. One of the great Ernest Borgnine roles. Among a cast of performers that are really excellent. Adrian Barbeau and Donald Pleasant. Oh, of course, Kurt Russell. Yes.
Isaac Hayes, Lee Van Cleef, Tom Atkins.
Oh, Tom Atkins. Can you imagine? Oh my goodness, what a cast! This is an amazing cast. They pull off their performances with such amazing, confidence and gusto. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good, but in their own ways, in their own little parts of the film, you kind of root for them.
Yep.
Or you're rooting against them, and that's it's kind of like sometimes it's almost it's like little sort of Game of Thrones in a way. You sometimes this character is a hero, sometimes it's the character is a villain. So it has that dynamic for certain while also being a Carpenter film with Kurt Russell topping the bill there.
With this is the first time to talk about this in this conversation, but an incredible soundtrack and score for this as well. The Carpenter score on this is just magnificently done.
Yep, there's a reason why John Carpenter is known, an artist of many hats, one of which being as a musician and a composer, and quite rightly so for films like Escape from New York.
So then many years later, they film a sequel to this called Escape from LA. And this was quite something that a lot of people were kind of clamoring for back then because they loved Snake Plissken. And then one of the other films that we're going to talk about in a minute also came out and made people love Kurt Russell. But Escape from LA came and it cooled those expectations quite quickly. I'll let you go first on this one. How do you feel about Escape from LA?
Oh gosh, when I first saw it back in the day, I must admit I was a bit disappointed with it. I don't know. It wasn't quite hitting everything that I probably was seeking again back in the day. Right. But now I can see it. I love it. It's much funnier now than I gave it credit for when I first saw it. And I guess I wasn't ready for its humor. I mean, the first one had, Escape from New York had a lot of humor, but this, I think, is really upping the ante. And so as a type of really well-constructed parody in a lot of ways, I think it does its job very well. And, I was also... back in the day, I was looking at it as, the special effects and things of that nature. But now looking back on it and looking at it through that lens and accepting it for what it is, I think it's quite good. It's not my favorite John Carpenter directed film, but it's certainly, it has grown on me a lot as I've myself have aged. And the years have passed, but yeah, it's growing much higher in my esteem as I watch it more and more. I don't know. How about you, my friend?
Well, like I said, I recently was able to watch both of these on the big screen, and I pretty much I never loved Escape from LA. I thought it was quite poor, especially on old shoddy DVDs and VHSs. The special effects and even that they don't look great on the big screen, but they looked terrible on VHS and DVD. And on the big screen, something about it, I just appreciated the all around camp feel more. There's something about it that it wasn't cheesy to the point that it was bad necessarily, and it's still not a great film. I understand that, but there was something about it that just made it more fun. And letting loose and watching it on the big screen with the group of Carpenter fans, just like I said about John Waters, that was revelatory for this film because it made it something that was, if you were going to do a filmography watch through for Carpenter, that one may have been a bit of a chore, but watching it with this group, it was like discovering a new hidden gem that I'd never seen before. It was fantastic to see that way.
Oh, that's well said. Oh, that makes me happy to hear you describe it in that way.
It's a good time, and if you've never seen it, I understand you're probably not missing a lot, but I still think you should probably see it. I think next we should probably talk about what many people think is one of his most fun films, and that is Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
How do you feel about Big Trouble in Little China? This movie's wild.
Oh, it could be my favorite John Carpenter film. It could be one of my favorite films, period.
Nice.
I love this film. I absolutely love this film.
Tell us why.
Oh, it's just I love its zany nature. I love the way it just goes from setup to setup to setup with this fast pace, We barely get to know the characters, but again, that's not to say that we don't. We get to know them in a very economical way of approaching the characterizations, and we really get to know these characters.
Yeah.
And it's very economical. It's very brisk in terms of its pace, and a lot happens, and so many characters happen, and it goes deeper into these levels until you get into this huge. The way it just again develops development upon development. And it just turns in slowly but surely from a type of Howard Hawks film into a sort of buddy movie, and then a monster movie, and then a sort of martial arts epic. And it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I love also its handling of Asian and Asian American type of approach and viewpoint based on those cultural perspectives.
Yes.
And it treats them in a way that is actually a very nuanced and quite complex, actually, which has a lot of ways of reading into it, many different possible interpretations, as well as being this rip-roaring comedy with Jack Burton, Kurt Russell at the heart and center of it. I love this film so much. I don't know. I'm sorry. I've taken.
No, please.
Well, how do you feel, my friend?
You can feel free to wax on as long as you want. This movie is special, and I think one of the main reasons why is what you just touched on at the end here. John Carpenter. What is the best way to say this? He treats this film that is downright silly in almost every single scene with the utmost respect, and that makes it so authentic at its core that you can't help but love every single shot of this film. And the nuance of treating those other cultures is what makes this fun, because really at the heart of it, it's kind of a parody on action heroes. The entire film is making fun of Jack Burton, but it's not doing it in a way that makes him look like a dope through the whole movie. It's making it ridiculous that we in Western film have held up these heroes to this point of this godlike stature for so long. And it's done in a way that is just perfect for Kurt Russell. And without their chemistry between the creator and the actor, I don't think they could have pulled it off the way that they did.
Yeah, you describe it so well. And there's a perfect blending of, say, that self-effacing nature of Jack Burton in the hands of Kurt Russell.
Yes.
But also that bluster that you need, that sense of a type of I'm here type of loud presence. You need that. And then there's also this really interesting way in which he almost accidentally emerges on the scene, almost by accident, and causes all these things to happen on the one hand, or things are happening to him. But along the way, he's never disrespectful. He always respects his surroundings and the people that he meets and the situation he finds himself in. He tries to have an air of confidence, but understandably so, because he's human, like we all are. We always want to try to act like we know things and we're in control when, in fact, we're not. And that's, I think, Jack Burton very much so. But he does it in a way that's always respectful, sometimes poking fun at himself, but he's okay with that. Yeah. And then sometimes trying to save the day as well, because he's really earnestly wanting to help the people around. And that's great. And there are moments to when he even acknowledges his own weaknesses. There's a moment where he's, I'm not really that good of a guy, but I'm doing my best. Yeah, that kind of self introspection is very rare.
Yeah,
and very refreshing. And so this complete package of a type of parody of hero films, or the hero position, while also being the self-effacing comedy, and it's just a perfect it's like a lightning in a bottle type of film for me, for the reason, many reasons, one of which I think you elucidated on right now so well.
Yeah, it's quite a subversive film. If you go into it expecting something and you've never seen it before, you are, expecting the hero to be this brooding pack of machismo around everything that he's stepping foot in. But he bumbles. He stumbles upon the right answers multiple times that he never should have found. He is overall the sidekick character basically through this, and He acts like the hero, which makes it that much more fun. This movie is a masterpiece and easily top 3 to 5 of John Carpenter's filmography. And that's the scary thing. Any other director, this would be their best film by leaps and bounds, but it's Carpenter, and it makes it difficult to rank because his stuff is so stupendous. This movie is astonishing. And by the way, a great release from Shout, Scream Factory, whatever. Special features just falling off of the disc. There are so many. They literally on the back of the Blu-ray art had to type the words "and more" because there was so many that they couldn't fit them all on the back.
Yeah, I had that release. I agree. It's great, absolutely great,
astonishingly great, and really wonderful commentary on this. If I remember right, I think this is the one they just straight don't talk about the movie. They basically just hang out and have a long conversation. It's either that one or Escape from New York, one of the two.
Yeah, they're having such a good time with this commentary. Carpenter and Russell, they're having such a great time, and they're just laughing about they're talking about oh, Carter Wong, look how big Carter Wong, who's like James Pax. Oh wow, he used to be a model. Oh yeah, it's all that guy, and it's just it's such a great time. Such a great time, and Kurt Russell's just laughing. I can't believe! Oh my goodness! And just acknowledging these points that you make about Jack Burton and the like. So, it's a great comment. I think it probably could be my favorite of the bunch. I think. Well, actually, there are some other great commentary tracks, so I don't want to speak ahead of myself, but it's one of the best ones.
That leads us into our final comment. Carpenter and Kurt Russell team up here, and that is the seminal The Thing. This movie obviously was hated upon release, was a complete bomb. People were not expecting a movie like this, and it is emerged as what many will look at as the masterpiece from Carpenter's filmography. I appreciate this movie for so many reasons, but the biggest one being Kurt Russell's sort of held back performance in this, which could have been much more in your face and authoritative, and it's really not until it needs to be. But obviously, the most important thing in this that people remember this film for is the astonishing level of practical effects in this movie that are mind-blowing. Some of the scenes in this, it is still like a mystery on how they could get something to look so good on film. The Thing, tell me about how you feel on it, and any exciting memories that you have associated with it.
Oh yeah, I think you expressed it so well. Yes, the Albertine effects and this was the stuff. This is, I think, I mean, if someone had to try to explain to someone what were the 80s like, what were the 80s like in America, I would say, go watch The Thing. I mean, that's I think it's in many ways it's like a perfect movie. I mean, it is a perfect movie. It's one of those things where you watch it every single time, and you're not, when things are going to jump, when it's going to happen, but it still gets you. And it's great too, because you can see it for so many things, as you say, the practical effects. It's fun to see how they did it, and it's fun to see. You can kind of see the blend, and you can kind of see it coming, but you're still shocked. It's that kind of fun time at the movies, and that's also adding to its rewatchability factor. Not to mention, of course, the plot itself makes it so intricate. What happens to these characters at what point. Is this when they change, or are they still right? So that kind of thing happens every single time, and the number of characters that are there. I mean, it really shouldn't have worked. I mean, you have a bunch of characters that it's in this outpost that. It's very bleak. It's very dark. It goes into a lot of places that even add to the bleakness. So perhaps it really shouldn't have worked. But the fact that it works so remarkably and miraculously as it does, I think is a testament to the way that it balances tension and suspense and the gore effects. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the things too that I think is so great about Carpenter's filmography, is that he's able to make this balance so well.
Oh yeah,
and I think The Thing is, in many ways, the perfect encapsulation of that. And indeed, I would say, as much as I would say Big Trouble in Little China is my personal favorite of John Carpenter's directed films, I would say that if I had to pick what would be the best, most perfect representation, encapsulation of Carpenter's aesthetic on cinema, it would be The Thing.
Well said. I mean, there are scenes in this that are more tense than any of his other films, and he's got one of the most popular horror movies ever in Halloween in his back pocket, basically.
Yes.
And there's still scenes from this that are exponentially more tense than I feel while watching Halloween. The score on this again is a masterpiece. It is, to steal a word I used a moment ago for a different reason, on Big Trouble, it is almost brooding in nature. There's something about it that feels like it is this character under the surface that is causing you to feel something that you can't even see on screen. And as you're watching the character development of this, which, by the way, I haven't even said any of the other actors' names. I mean, Wilford Brimley is amazing in this. Keith David is the best performance he's ever given in this, and the interactions between them are so spot on for somebody that has been stuck in the middle of this tundra for months and months and months with no one else. And it is just something about it is so, like, it draws you in on every scene, but also repels you because they are so off-putting in the way that they end up treating each other. I adore this movie, as do most of you watching probably, but it is something that deserves the recognition that it's finally getting after all these years.
Yeah, well said. Bravo. Yes, and yes, I also agree to Keith David. What a performance it is. Although I must say too, I really enjoyed what is it? There's Something About Mary. But yes, it's strong performance here. And there's the characters. Yes, there's a way in which they are quite unlikable.
Yes.
And on any other day of the week, it just so happens that there is this thing about the Thing and the alien, right? So that turns the tables in a lot of ways. But maybe in any other story or any other film that these characters might find themselves in, they might be quite the unlikable characters in that bunch. But here they are maybe the heroes or the anti-heroes, or maybe the heroes who don't want to be heroes. And I think McCready, Kurt Russell's character, I think fits that description to a T. Which I think makes for even more fascinating watch and even more of a compelling watch to merit further rewatch. Which is why, as you say, has garnered this reputation, which I think will carry along with it for years to come.
The unlikability factor is something that not enough people talk about for this movie, and that is quite a risk. If you are making a film and your characters are unlikable, many people will walk away feeling this loathing towards the entire film. And in all reality, all that means is those characters did their job. They made you hate those characters, which that's what they wanted to do. So very good. You did good, and now you deserve a paycheck. But unfortunately, that means many in the audience are going to walk away and say, well, I just didn't like that. And unfortunately, it takes this moment of really ingesting the film and understanding how it made you feel and looking inward on what those characters meant to you and why you didn't like them, and separating that I didn't like the character from I didn't like the film. So I think he definitely deserves more recognition for that aspect as well.
Oh, that is such a great cut. So astute. That's a great observation. This idea of looking inward and be able to make those separations between how one might react negatively to a character versus the film writ large. That is so, you're spot on. Well done.
So Carpenter, obviously we're talking about the Kurt Russell ones tonight, but other team ups that he's been with are always great. But I've always wanted to find out from most people, what do you think is his most underrated film?
Oh, John Carpenter?
As a whole, all his entire filmography.
Wow, that is a good question. I mean, I would have said maybe In the Mouth of Madness, but I think that's gotten a lot of positive vibes, especially with the recent, again, kudos to the great people over at Shout and Scream Factory, right?
Yeah.
But oh gosh, maybe one that doesn't get a lot of attention. Maybe as a film, like I would say, oh god, that's a good question. I fall on this as well. I don't know how much love I gave Ghost of Mars when I first saw it, but I'm beginning to get the the good feels when watching that as well. And gosh, what's another one? That's a really good question. Maybe maybe a film like Village of the Damned, perhaps as well. With Christopher Reeve.
You had somebody else
That doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it's good. It's really scary. Yeah, it's very intense, and it does something too, which is interesting from the earlier film version. I saw a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences as well. So maybe I'd go with that one. I don't know. How about you? What would you say?
Depending on the day, I tend to lean either towards, and this is going to sound hilarious because a lot of us love these movies, but I think in his filmography they're underrated because they're really both great. But it would either be Christine, which I think is way better made than people give it credit for. But I got to go all the way back for him, and Assault on Precinct 13. That one alone, I mean, there's so many. He starts the movie by shooting a child in the face, and in any other theater with any other filmmaker, a lot of people would just be turned off immediately by the just crude violence, especially for when that came out. But the score alone for that movie keeps me in my seat. That movie has maybe my favorite score from him, and the movie as a whole. Because it feels so much like a Western, and he has always been so attached to the hip with the idea of directing a Western, I feel like that shows off a lot of his instinctual skills because he wants to shoot like a Western, even though he's not made the true Western. So this idea of good guys versus bad guys, having characters that might be morally gray, like a lot of the classic Westerns, and seeing who you will agree with and sympathize with as you go through this movie, it is something that every time I watch it, if you pay attention to a different character each time, you almost get a different movie. It's like a choose your own adventure book, because no matter how you're viewing each of the characters from the beginning, you don't know exactly how they're going to end up at the end of the film. And I don't think enough people look at Assault on Precinct 13 and put it in the upper echelon of his films.
I really love that. Oh, I've never thought of it in that way, like a choose your own adventure style, but you're right. You're absolutely right. There is a way, they're so mismatched.
Yeah.
The characters, but they come together in this great, again, like Rio Bravo, Howard Hawks fashion that is also set in the present day of the time of the film. Of course. But you're absolutely, I love that. Wow, that is such an astute observation about this film. I'm going to look at it differently now, thanks to your great comment. Wow, well done.
It's fun, and it's one of those films where there's not really a main character, so you can just sort of you can attach yourself to anybody that you feel like at the moment, and with that, it's a completely different experience every single time.
I love that choice. Bravo, my friend.
Man, this has been such a fun talk, Daisuke. This has been incredible. Thank you for doing this again.
No, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. And I must just say thank you so much. I saw your video. I'm a fan of your channel. And I didn't mention it when you mentioned it earlier, but I did see the Exorcists discussion that you had. So well done. I mean, you have the finger on the pulse of all these physical media releases, all the way down to the nitty gritty details. Much better than I could ever hope to grasp. So we need people like you to keep fanning the flames of this very important way of consuming and experiencing cinema. I mean, without a doubt, I mean, theaters are very important, but now for our generation, right, physical media is the thing, and especially with streaming, which is also great. This is very important. So these details, keep up the great work, because we need people like you to keep doing this. So, and also the fact that you have Carrie, the poster Carrie, over your shoulder. I mean, that's just like cherry. It's like the cherry on top of the sundae. Really, really.
It's the carry on top. I know for a fact that you are a big De Palma fan, just like myself. And one of the things that I always try to stress is that De Palma is one of only a couple filmmakers that I could argue has had a magnificent opus, wonderful, incredible success in almost every genre.
Huh.
Not many can say that.
Oh. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I was thinking, what about the science fiction? Yes, but of course, Mission to Mars. Yes, of course, of course. What am I? Yes, so you're right. And the gangster film and the period film
Yep.
and
Action and
action. Yes,
horror,
exactly.
drama.
And war film. Yes. Oh my goodness, you're right. Yes, and comedy film and oh, well done. What's your? I'm sorry, I don't want to belabor your.
No, I can stay as long as you want, by all means.
What's your favorite De Palma film? Or is that an unfair question?
I mean, it's only unfair in the fact that if the wind blows by, I might feel something very different.
I like that answer already.
I adore his nuances with the risk that he took in very carefully choosing shots, especially early in his career. But the overall risks that he made later in his career brought this overall sense of like counterculture in a way that you wouldn't expect from somebody like De Palma that I have to respect. And it's, again, I almost impossible, but I also may just have to lean into Body Double because I love it so much.
Oh, that's such a great film. That's a huge.
I'm not sure
comedy. It's
yeah.
Wow, it's a zany film. Yeah. And it's It's really offensive, right? It had caused quite a stir of controversy. So in that way, it's also very much, I think, a great experience into what makes Brian De Palma films tick and how people react and respond to them. Yeah.
That or Blowout would probably be near the top of my list.
Yeah. One of the great uses of slow motion I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh, yeah. And sound, of course, obviously, which is monumental for that film.
Oh, well done. Well done.
What about you? I don't think I've ever heard your definitive answer for top De Palma.
Oh, it's such a difficult question.
It is. It really is.
Maybe. I mean, one day it could be The Untouchables. Another day it could be Carrie. Yet another day it could be. Oh my goodness. I mean, Mission Impossible. I love Mission Impossible. Or it could be Obsession from the 70s. Or Sisters. Right? Or Phantom of the Paradise.
That's another one I love. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Dress to Kill. That's not one that we've mentioned. Even something like Snake Eyes, you can find a lot to love.
I love Snake Eyes. I love Snake Eyes. You know, that was one of those. You know, there's some films throughout your life you think you really love, and you think, why was it critically panned the way it was back in the day? I feel that way about Snake Eyes. I feel that way about. It's not a Brian De Palma film. Mystery Men. I don't know. I think that's such a great film. Yeah, Snake Eyes, so clever. Yeah.
Well, my friend, this has been incredible. I hope someday that you can come back because, again, you're just a great guest, and I loved our conversation tonight.
Oh my goodness, Ryan! And let's speak offline. I want to let's do this again. But if it's okay, please come to my channel. I'd love to.
By all means,
conversation. We should talk about, oh my goodness, we've just the tip of the iceberg with Brian De Palma and all the and everything else. So let's talk offline about this. I'd love to see if we can work something out in the future if your schedule works out. I'd love that opportunity. Really, my friend, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'd be thrilled. Thanks everybody for watching tonight. And of course, if you are silly and not subscribed to Daisuke already, please go check the link in the description below. You should absolutely be watching everything that he does, especially for a deep dive and all the Criterion releases. Tonight has been just a magnificent turn. And if you enjoy this conversation, you should hear films that he's watched many times that he can give just some of the most thoughtful commentary that you've heard.
You're too kind, Ryan. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk with you. And I've learned so much about this. I had such a blast. It was a pleasure. It was all mine, my friend. Thank you.
Well, everybody, we'll see you next Thursday. Have a good week and go watch something else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share with someone else that may appreciate this.